How's everybody doing today? You ready for our next session here? I'm super excited. I'll quickly introduce myself and kick it off, and Mike will do the same. My name is Hank Pryblyski. I am the Global Vice Chair of Transformation at EY. So I am super excited for this conversation because our transformation journey is all about making the experience for our 400,000 professionals, many of which are accounting professionals, more enjoyable and more satisfying for our customers. And that is, in many ways, the goal of FloQast. So Mike, maybe quick introductions.
Yeah, so Mike Whitmire, co-founder, CEO of FloQast. Not listed on here as I'm very proudly an inactive CPA. So I started my career at Ernst & Young, so really excited to be here chatting about all this. I was in the audit group. That was kind of my introduction to accounting, obviously, was from the audit side of the table. I love my time at EY. I learned a ton, and I attribute our success at FloQast a lot to what I learned at EY. It was an amazing run. So for anyone with kids considering going into this profession, I could not recommend it highly enough. It was awesome. But ended up doing, it was at EY for about 4 years, moved on to Cornerstone On Demand, which I'm sure many of you know Cornerstone in the room here. So I got to join just before the IPO over there, and that was where I firsthand experienced a lot of the pains that we ultimately solve at FloQast now. Got to go through that IPO process, scaled the business up, and I had that moment of, God, I hate this, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be a better way, blah, blah, blah. And that was when I left and started working on FloQast in 2013. Fast forward to today, about 600 employees, revenue, we just publicly announced we crossed 100 million of ARR, about 2,600 customers, so it's been an amazing run and a lot of fun going through it, and thank you for hosting me today. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, congratulations on that incredible joke. Let's go back to maybe 2013, when you coming out of the accounting industry, like many of our professionals and many in the industry. We'll talk later about the talent drain. You know, what product, what problem were you trying to solve, and how did you get that first inspiration?
So it was all from a kind of an ad hoc project that I was assigned at Cornerstone. We went out and we bought a small company in New Zealand, and the CFO comes to me and he goes, all right, we bought a company. We need you to audit it, restate it in GAAP, see if we can pay less for the company, come up with a process and integrate it into the corporate fold. I was like, okay, this sounds like a wonderful project. I look forward to it. So my first job, right, beating up the balance sheet, figuring out where I could save Cornerstone some money. I think I clawed back, $800,000 on the deal, which was a $12 million deal. So that's, percentage-wise, like a decent savings that I got them on that. Restated into GAAP, and then I brought it into the headquarter fold, and we're closing the books, and we're going through just our regular operational cadence, and I start getting all these questions from our controller around, well, how are you closing the books for them, and how are you doing this? And there's kind of a soft means of organizing your workflow and having your team work together within an accounting department, but it's not thoroughly documented. And so in my head, I'm like, we do it the same way we do Cornerstone. Why is this so difficult? But from her lens, she's a controller. She has all this responsibility, including managing a team of 60 people and headquarters and reporting publicly, trade information. She has a lot going on. So tracking the close was not her number one priority, even though it's a really important part of her job, but she has so much stuff going on that she couldn't do it. So it was at that moment I thought, okay, it's all the same. Why isn't there software to help with this? And at the time, I was also revenue was a big part of my job, the revenue accounting. So I was in Salesforce a lot. So I drew some inspiration from Salesforce on, shouldn't there be something like what sales has with Salesforce? Shouldn't there be something for accounting, tracking the people and all that? And then I thought back to my time at EY, borrowed some ideas from the software we used at EY, because that was a great means of organizing a recurring process that involved reviewing, approving, documentation, reviewing, all that good stuff. So a lot of inspiration from my time.
Fairly classic. Yep. So a problem in the market, went after it.
Yeah, it's very, very stereotypical. So submitted my resignation.
So how did you? Let's go back. How did you first get started? What was your initial product? Cracking into the market, and what did you learn?
Yeah, I was just a guy. I quit my job, and I had no other means of paying bills or anything. Fortunately, my wife had been very successful in sales, and so she was able to at least keep us afloat and cash flow neutral for a period of time, which was great. But yeah, I just left, and I started trying to meet investors and figure things out, and I got introduced to Amplify LA down here in Venice. Shout out to Amplify for taking a risk on us, and I'm excited that we've made them a whole lot of money as a result of taking that risk, so that's a good, nice win-win. But I met them, I pitched the idea, and they go, we love it, your background's perfect, we think there needs to be more SaaS in LA, this seems like a pain point that everyone has, horizontal, like they didn't overthink it, they were just like, this is great. But you need a co-founder, you need a product, and you need a customer, before we can do anything. I was just a guy with a PowerPoint on an iPad, like flipping through it. So I did all those things. So I went and found myself a CTO, which is maybe the most ridiculous story in FloQast history. I found myself not wanting to recruit out of Cornerstone an engineer because I didn't know how Adam and Perry would respond to me recruiting one of their people, and I would love to have Adam and Perry in my camp as I go through this. So I found myself on something called cofounderlab.com, which is basically a dating website for founders, where you literally post a profile. Here's what I do, here's what I'm looking for, and thus began my journey in sales. And so I'm cold reaching out to all these CTOs. I set up a ton of lunches, meet with them, and ended up whittling down the list to this guy who's still our CTO to this day. It's been amazing working with him. His name's Colin Zanstra. He was very interested in a SaaS company. He had come out of MySpace where he saw it just like this, and he was like, yeah, I want to do something where people pay me for the software that I write. I was like, man, do I have the business for you. So I got him on board. We built the first version of our product. We got our first customer, which my mom is not a full-time employee there, but she is the interim CFO at this company. So they bought our software. So I went back to Amplify. I said, I have a co-founder, a product, and a customer. What do you think? And they let us in the program then, and that was when we were off to the races. So that was 2013. July 1, 2013 was the formal incorporation date.
You shared earlier you had some early learnings on your product journey.
Yeah.
Share kind of the product journey to today, what's made you successful, and what you learned along the way.
Yeah, and I think for for founders in the room, hopefully a little bit of inspiration here. So the first version of our product, we sold a couple instances of it. We were trying to sell more of it, and I was having a really hard time. And we had one final sales cycle with Whataburger, the big burger chain out of Texas, and they really liked the product. They had the pain point. They really liked the product. We got towards the end of the sales cycle, and we get introduced to the security team. And they go, okay, can you send us all your SOC reports? How many employees do you have? How much money do you have in the bank? All this kind of stuff. And so I'm sitting there like, yeah, we'd love to take all of your financial data and have it live inside of our application. And we're 3 dudes working out of Venice. We have about $18,000 left in the bank, and we have no audit reports to speak of. So that was the situation. And they go, okay, we can't work with you. And I'm sitting there like, crap, we're never going to close a deal if we do this. And then we did have the customers we had closed. The adoption wasn't as strong as I thought, but they all have the pain point. And what we realized was we needed to completely scrap the product and take a fresh approach to how we do everything. So the approach was we reconfigured it a little bit so it was more accounting focused and not as much of like the auditor lens on it. So it really leaned into the full accounting vision, worked the way they already work. And then a lot of that was then integrating with all the systems they already use.
Yep.
So like cloud storage, their ERP, and their communication providers. So what that allowed us to do was get on a call and say, here's the software, yep, you have the pain point, you like the product, that's great. Hey, security team, I have great news for you. We don't hold anything of value. That lives in your cloud storage provider, that's in your ERP. We'll send you Box.com's SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports. We'll send you NetSuite SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports, and don't worry about us, we're just fine. And that worked. That actually worked, and we started closing deals from there. Then we're SOC 1, SOC 2, ISO, we have all that good stuff now, but at the time, that was our little hack for...
So it's a great, maybe we'll build on that. Let's build on it right now, because I think you kind of brought up the role of an accountant. You were talking earlier, EY, we've got so much data that runs through our chains, and I certainly understand the importance of protecting the data. How do you think about, as you go on this mission to improve the lives of the accountants, empowering that data? We've talked a lot about AI, and it's all really about getting that data-ready estate in order, not just security.
No, and this is where I think you and I are probably in a broader society. Like I've heard investors talk about this, and they go, accounting should just be automated. You could put the GAAP rules inside of an LLM, and it can take it, it can apply everything to it. That is so naive and just not understanding accounting to think that way. Like you understand the data within accounting comes from so many different places, and it is not uniform. It involves a ton of translation from humans to handle a lot of that. And then different systems are unique to different companies even. So NetSuite is not the same at any one company. It's all a little bit different. And so data's key. It's also really, really complicated, and that's where a lot of the human kind of understanding and knowledge starts to come into play. And you need not just knowledge of GAAP accounting, but of your specific company to be able to treat that data properly to produce financial statements that people care about. So, and I also don't think people really, if you're not in it, you don't process how much data is fed into an accounting process even a company of FloQast size.
I like to say EY is really one of the largest business intelligence platforms in the world.
Yeah.
Not only data we just process. An audit is a data intelligence platform.
I mean, for those who don't know, like part of my job was getting every transaction for an account and being like, all right, I'm going to sample this and test it. And all of a sudden you might be testing 500 line items out of a sample set of 10,000 transactions at, a mid-size production company was kind of the world I was in. So yeah, it's a lot.
So let's pivot back to the product journey. You had that great lesson learned early about security. What's made you so successful? You're obviously driving a ton of ARR. Where are you focusing? How are you expanding your TAM, your target market?
Yeah, so what I've learned is increasing TAM is the never-ending part of my job. That is the question I'm going to get.
That's a good thing.
Until the day I retire. So yeah, that's all about international expansion, adding more product lines, and going up market. It's not like the most complicated thing in the world. Those are the three ways of doing it. So we are doing all three of those things. That's what we continue to invest in. So for example, we have, we're up to 40 people in London now running our EMEA office. We have a small team of 10 in Australia now, ramping that one up. We're looking at more geographies. Japan, shout out to Andy in the audience. We're looking forward to help on getting Japan off the ground. That should be a good one. So yeah, international expansion. We're seeing more success. We're getting pulled up market. We started very much in the mid-market with companies that looked like Cornerstone when I started there. So maybe 8 people in accounting, getting ready to grow. You're on NetSuite, all this kind of stuff. And then I think really the big benefit is because we are accountants, we've built a product that works the way accountants already work. And so we slot really well into their existing process. It's just their process isn't well documented. So we slot in, implementation is really fast, adoption is immediate. And then one of our big things is we work with Excel. And we know how much accountants use Excel. And so we've come in with the mantra of, hey, embrace Excel. It has one weakness, which is it's not tied to your ERP. We solve that weakness, and that's what allows people to get ramped up so quickly and is a big advantage.
Excellent. We talk a lot about, whether it's a transformation or even as we talk a lot about AI in this conference, the value of AI. We talk a lot about the technology of AI. It's got to create a unique customer experience, unique employee experience, and a financial return. As you think about your product and going into there, how do you pitch that to your clients? How do you sell that opportunity?
Accounting's not driving more revenue, right? So the only side you're looking at within an accounting department, I mean, for you guys are driving more revenue, obviously. You care about that. For us, when we're talking to...
Sounds like you're driving a lot of revenue, too.
For FloQast. But when we go to a prospect or a client, it's all about doing more with less, obviously. And what's really now becoming unique about a different industry within accounting, we have this huge talent crunch. You and I, we both experienced this pain in a big way, but accountants are leaving the profession altogether in big droves. A lot of accountants are retiring. That's a big thing. And then fewer people are majoring in the profession than in years past. That's all happening while capitalism is marching on, and there are more businesses, and there's more need for accounting. So there's this very serious problem. Like for anyone in the room who doesn't have a tax preparer person, get one that's in their 30s or something and hope that they don't quit, because finding someone to prepare tax returns in 15 or 20 years is going to be very difficult just with people leaving the profession altogether. So we come in with a message of, we're going to help you fill that gap. It's not about replacing people because it's already so hard to find people. And I don't view AI as something where it's, oh my gosh, it's going to replace all of accounting. It's something where accountants just need it if we want to have any semblance of work-life balance. And if a company wants to be able to retain talent and not hemorrhage people because they're working too much, you need AI. So it's not...
Our tagline on that, Mike, sorry to interrupt, is it's not the human or the robot, it's taking the robot out of the human.
Okay. I have a slightly different, which is we want to elevate the role of the preparer into the reviewer.
There you go.
And that allows you to take your critical brain and apply it to a transaction and understand what's happening rather than just keying in the same thing over and over again, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're totally on the same page. We can take because believe it or not, accounting is really fun when you're learning about theory and how it works, and it's this puzzle, and it's really, there's a big misconception around if you're good at math, you're good at accounting. It's if you're good at problem solving and putting puzzles together, you're good at accounting. And that's the part I love about it. And so how do we allow people to do that part of the job?
So a lot of what we talked about is a lot of this focus on has been AI, predicting the future, analytical analysis, empowering the reviewer. Give us your perspectives on AI, not just LLMs, but AI's opportunity in FloQast and how you see that product growing, maturing.
Yeah, AI is it's a big term. I feel like as a society, we've now pigeonholed it to ChatGPT and what
Yes,
LLMs are doing and other ones.
That was a little bit of my push point there.
Yeah, but like we've had AI in our product for 7 years at this point. It's just in different areas, and now with OpenAI coming out with ChatGPT and the ability to work with it, you can deploy way more features within your core application. You're seeing everybody do that. There's a Copilot in like every piece of software, and so we have it embedded throughout it. But to me, it's really how do you take a step back and think about actually building something new and starting from scratch and building an AI platform that can automate a material amount of work and, like I said, elevate that preparer into the reviewer. And I'm going to be a little cagey about it. I don't want to go into too much detail about what we're working on, but we feel like there's a really big opportunity to make that happen now and do it in an accountant-first, accountant-friendly way so that they're owning this process still and not being automated, but more being leveraged for the talents that they have. So I think it's a really huge opportunity in more than just an LLM approach. You have way more data, though. I'm curious, how are you guys thinking about it? Because you do own an ungodly amount of accounting data.
Yeah, we do. First and foremost, and Carmine hit it on the governance panel. First is, we're looking at how do we just create more value from our services. Mm. And a lot of question our clients ask is, what's the next best decision? And it's not just the automation of the tax return, the automation of the accounting return, but can we help our clients find that anomalous transaction, potentially fraudulent transaction, help them optimize that? And I think I think what we're really hitting on both sides here is there's such a wealth of financial information that so much activity is going into the production that we can streamline that and automate that and lead it into the decision process. And a lot of that data, while it is very non-standardized, is not necessarily connected in functional areas of the firm. Finance, supply chain, accounting, and the like. So
but you have enough to where you can draw trends and understand anomalies, and really, at least the game of audit is looking at the anomalies and saying, and we always talk about fraud, but people make errors too, genuine mistakes. I made some errors when I was doing accounting, and the auditors found it. We can keep it real about that, but at the same time, back to the transaction volume, I remember having this conversation with our CFO. I was just like, dude, I need another headcount to help me with revenue. He goes, why do you need another one? We're not growing that fast. And I had to plot out, I am manually entering 10,000 fields per month. That's what I'm doing. If I'm an A+ student, 99.9% accuracy, that is unacceptable from an audit perspective. Like, I just need more help, man. And that's the kind of work where we don't need me manually keying stuff in. That should be done by AI, and then think about the anomalies, what doesn't look right, what AI's not perfect, what might it have messed up, and reviewing that kind of work.
So Mike, we've talked a lot about the product, some of the opportunities around AI. Maybe kind of ground it down to the day-to-day. If you think about
running a company?
Running the company, what are you focusing on the next quarter? Some common things that you're most proud of.
Well, I'm really proud of the team we've hired. I love the people we work with, and they're great at what they do. And a lot of our team members have scaled really well with us. We have, for example, the parent of one of our top employees in the room right now, and she started as an entry-level employee for us, and now she's running a sales team, and she's been amazing to work with. And we have that story all across FloQast. And one of the things I do is I hire aggressively out of accounting firms. So I'm sorry, but I have hired people out of EY to do new jobs at FloQast. But I found accountants, when you come out of EY, man, you work hard, you are smart, you're a professional, and it's a great foundation for just a great employee to do whatever. And so we bring in accountants, we give them an opportunity, and they scale up from there. And with that, my day-to-day is never the same. I've been able to bring in a great CFO who helps run a lot of the operational cadence of the business, and so I can just attend to whatever I kind of think is most important within any given week. So my job's gotten a lot more fun as I've hired great executives, and I get to focus on the stuff I want to do and what I think is most impactful for the company, which changes like every week, man. It's just a different thing every week.
And as you reflect on the successes you had as you scaled up, how have those priorities changed?
So early on, it's really being in the weeds and just making sure everything succeeds. When you're really early, it's like everything needs to go perfectly for this to work. So I was probably in the weeds too much to where it was maybe annoying for some people, but it's gotta work. FloQast is my portfolio of one, and I've risked a good chunk of my career on this thing, so it's gotta work. And then as you hire people and trust them, you get to take a step back and allow them to kind of do their thing and be successful. And it's never gonna be exactly how you would do it, but as long as they're getting the job done and it's going really well, oftentimes what I found is people are better than me and do it in a better way, and we become better as an organization. And so that's been awesome to see. And now I'm to the point where, now that I have the really fleshed out executive team, in particular the CFO, I was way too egotistical about the CFO. I took a lot of weird pride in the fact that I was raising all this money without a CFO. It was just me doing the whole job, and that was such a stupid mistake. I wish I had done it like 2 years earlier, and my life would have been way easier. So now I can really focus on I love product and go-to-market. I found, despite being an accountant with that stereotype, I love the go-to-market side of it. I did not respect marketing at all when I started this company, and now I love marketing, in particular product marketing. To me is one of the most fascinating things going on within any given company, and so any given software company. And yeah, that's where I focus, is on go-to-market and product.
So let's talk about go-to-market. You kind of, how have you sized the market?
Yeah.
And how are you kind of prioritizing the market growth going forward, and maybe some of opportunities for adjacencies?
So I think the key with go-to-market, and we were just talking about this at our we had an all-employee conference in Vegas, which was awesome. But I was basically telling the whole company, like, we need to think way bigger than we've been thinking already, because one of the things I've noticed is a lot of companies have gone public, and then when the market goes down, private equity is right there to scoop them up and change the face of that company and completely ruin the founder's legacy, quite frankly. And I do not want that to be the end of FloQast. And for us to avoid that, we need to become a top tier, top 25 type SaaS company, and that is not easy to make happen. And so that led me to talk about the idea of focus and how you focus as an organization. I think the earlier on you are in the life cycle of your company, the more you need to focus. But to ultimately become the size of Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, companies like that, you have to lose focus at some point. And so I was really pontificating on focus and the idea around that. And I think focus is in 4 areas. So it's geographical. Where are you selling into? And when we started, it was San Francisco, San Francisco, San Francisco. The idea was dominate the Bay. If you look at our first quarter board meeting we ever did, the strategy was dominate the Bay, with the idea being those are the influencers. They're most open to adopting technology. They'll take a risk on us. If they go public, they're all going to become great logos for us, and then the rest of the country will follow suit from the Bay Area. That has worked out perfectly. It's gone incredibly well. We're also the beneficiary of a great IPO market. So we have all these companies that took risks on us when they were maybe 10 people, and then we frickin' figured it out along the way, and we were able to serve their needs as they grew as a company. That takes us to the next area of focus, which is what segment are you going to sell into? We've been pulled more up market, which allows us to get into bigger deals and increases our TAM from there. The third area of focus is product. How wide do you want to go with your product? You know, how vertical or how horizontal do you want to go with it? We started with a really tight focus on the close. We've then expanded into broader accounting operations. We've added enhanced features there, and now we moved into the compliance world, really now back to, I love it because we're making the audit easier. And then the fourth area of focus is who's your buyer persona, and that's the area where we have decided to be hyper-focused on the controller and the chief accounting officer and delivering as much value as we possibly can for that persona. So yeah, because when you look at the tech spend under the CFO, you can break, and this is where coming from accounting is so helpful, because an accountant is not an accountant. If you look at a team of 15 accountants, they all do different stuff. It's not just an accountant's an accountant. And when you look at the controller versus the VP of finance, that's a clean kind of break under the office of the CFO. The controller has roughly 10x the IT spend that the VP of finance does. So when you're talking about, I want to sell to the office of the CFO, you're really trying to grab the budget from the controller, because that's where most of the share of wallet exists. And so let's do everything we can for them. It starts with the close, and let's go from there. So the core app, back to your original question, has a TAM of $8 billion. That's how we sized it. And every product we add, when it increases our ACVs by X dollars, it increases our TAM by X dollars. And so based on what we've built so far, we believe we have a TAM in the $15 to $18 billion range, as it stands today.
So we got about 1 minute left.
Oh, sorry, I've been rambling.
No, that's good.
Yep.
No, perfect.
Okay.
We got maybe final predictions. We're at Monty 2028. I'm not talking about any sort of presidential picks or anything like that, but talk about FloQast. What have you accomplished? What will we be saying on stage at that event?
So 2028, we're a publicly traded company. I'm a couple earnings calls deep. People are loving us on earnings calls. The stock, we're getting it added. Anyway, but really we're owning the controller end to end from a product lifecycle perspective, and helping them from transaction through reporting and the audit. That's the end-to-end vision for everything that we want to do. So we're a publicly traded company. We're growing faster than ever because of all the product lines that have come out. We're the most loved brand in the office of the controller. That's really important to me. This notion of us being by accountants for accountants and being really good to our customers is hyper important as we scale. So we're loved brand, well-run organization, growing quickly, have a product that controllers love, and hopefully we're a company that investors love as well.
So let's get a big round of applause for Mike Whitmire, FloQast, and I want to say personally, thank you for all you're doing for the accounting industry.
Hey, no, thank you, man. Appreciate it.